hello, and welcome to the Core Dog Experience. And for some of you out there, welcome back to the Core Dog Experience. This was a channel I started earlier this year, to get into some Buckeye talk. My favorite sports team is the Buckeyes, and just as I was getting into a little groove, so to speak, life happens. Sometimes life steps in the way of stuff, so I had to take a step back, do some stuff, handle some stuff, but I'm back now trying to get it up and going again. So we'll see how it goes. So as before, if you like the content, what you're hearing, if you love Buckeye talk in general, we talk Buckeyes, primarily football, but I try to touch upon everything Buckeye related as it happens and as it becomes current. So that's what the Core Dog Experience is about. Getting into I touch with the Buckeyes and everything Buckeye related. So this is sort of my official reboot, so to say, getting back into the groove of things. And what better way to start? Perfect time of year to start. The first college football rankings came out, and the Buckeyes are positioned at number two. So we will touch upon that. But first, like this, it's like the halfway point, so to speak. So talk about some of the stuff, some of my mid-season, some of the Core Dog awards for this mid-season time period. Just how I thought this, how I believe the season's gone so far. And if you guys agree, disagree, or whatnot, please add them in the comments. Trying to build this thing up and get a good positive Buckeye vibe going, because a lot of the social media, some of the fans can get a little nasty towards our Buckeyes, but I'm trying to keep this upbeat or whatnot. So, first half of the season, Buckeyes off to a great start. The offense is what we thought the offense was going to be. The JSN injury, we thought that would derail us some, but we knew we had a strong receiving core coming in, and that has proven to be the case. It's hard to say we missed a beat when you see the numbers we putting up, but it's hard to say we missed a beat. Have we missed a JSN? I don't know, because how much better would the numbers be with him? Because Marvin Harrison has stepped in and has been a dog. So great. So the offense is what we thought it would be, but the big eye out was, how was the defense going to be? How would Jim Knowles turn around the defense? And I think he has done an excellent job. So we're going to get into the numbers and the rankings and all that stuff as we go on. So mid-season, let's look at some of the numbers here. So offensive wise, at the midway point of the season, our offense is about where we thought it would be. As I was saying, offensively, our total yards of offense, we're putting up over 500 yards a game. No surprise there. I think we're currently ranked sixth in the nation offensive wise in total yards output. Passing wise, we're I think ranked eighth nationally. In our rushing, we're in the top 40. Well, we knew we weren't going to be a running team, but because of our passing game, but our running game, we're putting up. Last two games aside, we're putting up some good numbers running wise. And then the points per game, we're only second to Tennessee. We were literally unstoppable. And those numbers could even be better if we learn how to score in the red zone these last two games. Those numbers, we'd probably be over 50 points per game. But, it is what it is. You're going to run into some good defenses. You're going to stop you in Iowa. Iowa, Penn State. Well, Penn State always plays us tough. And Iowa, they just have a good defense. Just think if they had an offense. No telling where Iowa would be. But, so we took a step back. A little, not much offensive wise, but those are our numbers. We knew we'd be top 10 offensively, and we are. We got good numbers, picking up good numbers. Really, like I said, without take the last two games where we struggled a little bit in the running game, because the defenses have gotten more stout. They were geared to shut down and try to make us one-dimensional. Iowa, they stopped the running game, but their offense was just god awful, and we still put up 54 points on a team that's not used to giving up points. So kudos to Ohio State for for doing that and finding a way to break through that defense. And of course, our defense helped a lot that game. Helped a lot, set us up with some short fields. The game could have been a lot worse if we could converted some of those first half turnovers into touchdowns. But we had to settle for too many field goals for my liking. But like I said, Iowa, hats off to Iowa. And then Penn State at Happy Valley, it was going to be, they always play us tough. It is what it is. They play us tough. They've always have. With that said, this is the first time it's been more than a one-score outcome. They normally play us within 7 points, and we got past them. Good, and that was a true team effort because the offense was stagnant for much of the game, but our defense bailed us out. We don't even have to talk about the performance by JTT, but our defense in general bailed us out in that Penn State game. They gave up that cheap touchdown at the end of the game, but other than that, now it's a complete team effort. So team-wise, Ohio State's doing what we pretty much thought they were going to be doing for the first half of the season, given the competition they were going to be playing, and they've been, in my opinion, one of the most dominant teams offensively. Of course, you got Tennessee who's putting up some crazy numbers, but Ohio State's been one of the most dominant teams offensively as expected, and they're doing that even with the injuries. We haven't had JSN all year, might as well say all year. Mayan Williams, Trevion, they've been in and out of the lineup with nagging injuries, and we're still putting up big, crazy numbers. That's just how prolific our offense is. If we can get everyone back healthy, get everyone clicking on the same page, get the offensive line being able to block better against some of these more stout defenses in the run game. Oh God, it's scary because we haven't played our best game. I don't think we've played our best game yet because we haven't had our best people available to us at 100%. We're not going to be 100% at this time of the year, but you haven't had our best players available to date. And when JSN comes back, is he going? They keep saying he is, but this might be a Nick Bosa situation. He might just shut it down. He tried coming back against Wisconsin. They can say he was on the snap count, but we saw the play. He snapped something, or he twisted. Something gave. If he really wanted to come, he would have came back in. They're playing it safe, and I don't blame him for playing it safe, but he's not 100%, and you can't rush. That's the one injury you cannot rush is a hamstring. I don't know if he'll be back, but if he is, that's just makes that offense that much more potent if he does come back. But we knew the offense was going to be on point, and they have been. No complaints there. The offense, I'll touch on that later. But some of my midseason offensive awards coming in. Always people like doing awards, so why not? Let's from Core Dogs, let's hand some out and just the midway point. Who's standing out to you? So obviously, best player offensively on the offensive side of the ball. He's a Heisman finalist. Was the front runner. I had him as one of the front runners for pretty much all year, but you can't take away what Hooker has done. You can't discredit that, and the posters are, because anytime you beat Alabama, put up the numbers he did against Alabama, and he jumped, he skyrocketed to the top, and hats off to the young man. He's playing good. He's balling out. But Stroud's in the conversation again. I think if he has a good game against Michigan, he get, and we go undefeated the rest of the year, and he has a good game against Michigan, he'll be right there in the thick of it. It's going to be hard to deny him. It's going to be hard to deny C.J. Stroud the numbers he's putting up. So offensively for us this year, C.J. Stroud, and then you got to give hats out to Marvin Harrison. He is literally, granted I don't watch all the other teams, but I'm familiar with watching up highlights. Who the other top dog receivers are around the country, and no one's playing better than Harrison. His name comes up consistently. Give me another receiver that's playing as good as Harrison. You got your boy out in Tennessee. He's playing well, but I don't think he's doing what Harrison's doing. We thought we were going to drop off when Jackson went down, but Harrison has stepped right in. The receiving core in general has stepped right in. We knew it was deep. We knew the receiving core is deep, and they've proven to be that. So my best two, Harrison might even be playing better than Stroud. Quite honestly, that's how good Harrison has been this year. He's a beast. And but C.J. Stroud, he's a Heisman finalist, and I think he will remain to do so. If he had a good outing against Michigan, I think he very well could win it this year. It's going to be hard to deny him. Of course, you've been to know what Hooker does the rest of the year, but C.J. Stroud, he's right there in the Heisman thing. So offensively for Ohio State, I got C.J. Stroud and Marvin Harrison as our two best players this year so far on offense. Players, I got a couple categories. Got my best player, my breakout players, and just players. Honorable mention because they're having a good year, and you need to recognize what they're doing. So some of my breakout players this year, Cade Stover. We cannot. How often do we get to talk about the tight end as being more than just a blocker? This dude is contributing on the offense and not just blocking wise. I thought we were going to sorely miss Rucker. Now, for those who got to see some of my earlier videos, you heard how much I thought we underutilized Jeremy Rucker, but they're using Stover, and this guy, he's delivering. Thanks to him, Stroud kept his TD touchdown streak alive against Penn State, because he very well could have got tackled well before the goal line, and given the struggles Ohio State has had in the red zone this last couple of weeks, we may not have scored. We may not have scored if Stover didn't work his way into the end zone. So breakout performance for Stover. I was not expecting him to perform the way he's performed thus far in the season. This dude has worked his way. I've seen on some draft boards as high as the second round, and a couple folks have him a first. I don't think he's I don't think he's as good as Bowers or Michael or the Mayer kid out of Notre Dame. But Stover is balling out. I know he's worked his way high up into a draft where before he was maybe an afterthought. This dude's a stud at tight end. So breakout performance for Cade Stover. Again, if you saw some of my earlier stuff, I told folks, I was telling you guys, do not sleep on Julian Fleming. Everyone's Marvin Harrison and Buka. I was like, no, wait a minute. Wait till Julian gets healthy. This dude, I think he was ranked higher than all of them, but he just couldn't get healthy. And he's been great this year, and it's in particular with Jackson having his injury issues. Fleming, like I said, he's a beast. He'd be the number one on any other team. And he's just stepped in flawlessly, and I'm glad he's having a great year. I'm glad he's coming through, and everyone's getting to see what he can do. But I told folks, do not sleep on Julian Fleming. This dude was a 5-star for a reason. I think he's showing why, and he's having a great season. And we needed him to, because, like I said, Jackson went down, and I don't know if we're going to get him back. I truly don't know if Jackson's going to come back and if he's going to be able to do what he did last year. Like I said, he might just sit down and sit down the rest of the year, like I said, a la Nick Bosa. But we'll see. But Julian Fleming, I told you guys, Julian was going to be a beast, and he has been. He's big, fast, strong, and I called it. I called Julian Fleming. And then lastly, I don't know if you want to call it a breakout, but I'm including Mayan Williams as one of my breakout folks because in different platforms, you have folks saying he's better than Trevion Henderson. He should be starting over Trevion Henderson. And he has a lot of games. I don't know if it was because Henderson was dinged up or if it was just a coaching decision for him to start over Trevion. Me personally, I still like the dynamic and the burst that Trevion brings. I think they are a great 1-2 punch. I don't know if there's a better 1-2 punch in the country when they're both healthy. And that's the thing, they both have not been able to stay healthy. And Mayan, he got dinged up last week with his, when you look at the replay, like he could have broken the wrist, but thankfully it wasn't. But but they just the nagging injuries. So, but he's played himself into where people are saying he should be starting over Henderson. That's a testament to his work ethic, the belief in himself, and what he produces on the field because he gets going. Do you want to get in front of Mayan Williams and try to bring him down? I didn't think so. I played defense back in my day of school, and I ain't trying to tackle that dude. When he get a full head of steam, oh hell no. But so yeah, and I think plus with Henderson's injuries issues is he hadn't been able to stay healthy. And the Mayans come right in and stepped up. Evan Pryor went down. We were expecting to see some of him, so it's been more of a load for the both of them. I know the coach seems hesitant on using Hayden, tried not to burn up his red shirt, so the load is falling on them to carry the brunt of the offensive performance running wise. And like I said, Mayan has stepped up to the point where people are saying he's better than Henderson. I ain't gonna go there, but he's good. He is really good. He's worked his butt off, and he's good. He's hard to bring down, but Henderson he runs hard too. He's been nicked up. We got a flash of what Henderson could do against Penn State. All he needs is just a little bit, and he gone. He gonna take it to the house. Those are my breakout folks, and then the shouts out, honorable mention to Paris Johnson. Can't forget the O linemen. They are doing a great job in protecting C.J. Stroud. I think I read or heard somewhere that Paris has not given up a sack yet. If he has, it's only just been one. So hats off to him. He's the best offensive lineman on what is a great offensive line. They could get better in the run blocking, but for the most part, when CJ drops back to pass, he has the time to do what he needs to do. And like I said, Johnson, he's not giving up nothing on this side. So offensive wise, those are my little shout out and handouts for the offense from up to this point in the season. I'd love to hear what your guys' takes are on who you feel are the outstanding performance thus far on offense. Don't envision it being too different, but if it is, throw it in there. Let me, is Mayan better than Henderson? Are you surprised by Julian Fleming and how in the season he's having or whatnot? So please, found the comments, hit me up. What you guys think are if you were giving out the awards, what your opinions are on those. Would love to hear it. So those are my offensive stuff heading into the second half of the season, and hopefully they can improve upon some of the stuff, and we'll talk about that in a second. So let's jump into the defense. So defensively, this was the question mark coming in. What can Jim Knowles do with that defense? Because the personnel was going to be basically the same from last year. And you saw that old argument, you have a porous defense, and so they got a lot of returning starters. But if the defense sucked last year, who cares? We got a bunch of returning starters. If it sucked, it sucked. We got a lot of them came back, but we changed up coordinators. So let's see what the new coordinator can do with basically the same guys. Because I mentioned at one point in one of my earlier videos earlier this year said if it ain't the talent, it's the coaching and the scheme. And I think that's proved out during this course of the first half of the season. The talent has always been there. How could it not be? These are 4 and 5 star recruits all over the defensive side of the ball. Why we were so porous last year is it's a head scratcher. So again, coaching scheme. Jim Knowles comes in from Oklahoma State, comes from a conference that's known for offense, but yet his Oklahoma State defense was one of the top in the country. And we were saying all along, if we can just get any smidgen, any type of defense, this team was going to be unstoppable. And I think, and particularly these last 2 games, we see what a great defense can do. So I guarantee you, we're not blowing out Iowa last year with last year's defense. Oh no, that game ain't gonna be no. We ain't putting up 54 points against Iowa last year. Nope. Hell, we may even lose the Penn State game last year. Defense had a big hand in beating and winning these last two games. Iowa, Penn State, defense played a huge role. They gave us short fields. That's probably why we're so down so much in the rankings because our defense is giving us short fields these last two games. Yardage wise, I said we probably be higher up yardage wise per game, but we the last two games we were on ours, in particular the Iowa game, we were on their side of the field the whole first half. We just couldn't score touchdowns. Penn State, the defense showed out. We know who showed out in particular, but JTT showed out, and the defense in general showed out against Penn State, and very well probably won us that game and until the offense got it cranked up and started going. But that's the difference between last year's defense and this year's defense. This year's defense can actually go out and win games and put us in a position to win games, and that's what they did these last 2 weeks. Because they just smoked Iowa, and I know Iowa has a pitiful offense. They can't score, but still, that defensive performance we did against Iowa was just off the charts. And then to follow that up on the road in Happy Valley, what we did to Penn State again. And we needed that defense because our offense was still had issues in the first half until we got that second half, that 28-point explosion, which was triggered by the defense, JTT in particular. But we're getting to his performance in a second. But the defense is off the hook. Defensive wise, just look at some of the numbers. I think so yards allowed. We're in the top 10. We're 6th in the nation in yards allowed. I didn't want to look at that numbers from last year because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for a silver bullet defense to be as bad as they've been the last few seasons. But this year, Jim knows, got us ranked 6th in the nation in total yards allowed per game. We had 270 yards a clip. That's outstanding. Passing yards allowed. Again, 11th in the nation, about passing yards allowed per game. And these are teams having to play catch up with us, so they are throwing the ball a lot. So you're not going to be able to shut down. I know people get antsy, and they've been on Denzel Burke and some of the other corners saying that's our weakest part. But when you're forced to throw the ball, you're going to complete some of them passes. We got to be able to shut down every single team, every single body when they're throwing the ball exclusively because they have to try and stay in the game. You're going to give up some plays. It's just law of nature. You're going to give up some plays. So I'm not as down on them as some I've seen on some of the other social media outlets. And plus, they've been banged up. Again, our corners have been banged up. I don't think we've had both our starting corners starting throughout the whole consistently throughout the whole game without nagging injuries or whatnot. So I think they're performing well. Are they the weakest unit? Probably. They probably are still the weakest part of the defense. But a drastic improvement over last year. Big improvement over last year. Rushing yards allowed. We're 10th ranked in that category. And again, saw that Michigan game. So hopefully they can continue that going. We play some good running teams already. We shut down Wisconsin. We shut down some other good running teams, basically because Wisconsin can't throw the ball. So it was easy to focus in on the running. So like I said, Michigan, they're going to present a challenge because they can't throw the ball around a little bit. So that will be the game, but we'll save the Michigan talk for another day. But to date, our defense is good. And then the scoring wise, again, all we asking for just hold folks to a reasonable amount of points and let the offense do the rest. And that's pretty much they've done. We're giving about 17 points a game, and some of those will come in junk time when we got some of the backups in trying to get them some experience. So I'm not mad at all of how the defense has performed, where they're at. They're still getting better. They're in position now. That was the whole thing. Our linebackers were out of position. Um, our secondary was out of position. We weren't doing the stuff we needed to do defensively. It was just bad. I can't. There's not enough words to float around on how bad our defense has been the last few years. But Jim knows. Um, if there's a MV, whatever the award is for assistant coaches, if he doesn't get it or if he ain't in the running, something is wrong with the whole system because it's light and day between last year's defense and this year's defense. Are there some stuff going? Yeah, there's some stuff. There's gonna be stuff every game because it's just it's gonna be hard to stop everybody all the time. But being ranked where we are as compared to last year, I honestly feel like we have a chance, a very good chance, to win the whole thing. The whole thing. We got a chance because we got a defense that can get some stops. Um, More often than not, I believe. More often than not. So the defense has vastly improved. MVP, best player. Well, we wanted to do an MVP of the defense. I just give it to Jim Knowles and call it a day. Because what he's done in less than a year is phenomenal. The way this defense is playing is just phenomenal. But still got to have the players to back it up. Still got to have the players. And again, same personnel for the most part. One big exception. Same personnel. But if I were giving out some midseason defensive awards, my best two players to this point would be Eichenberg. The improvement he's made is just, again, this dude's all over the field. He's playing lights out for our line. That's been one of our sore spots. Is the linebacker play out of position, not reading plays wrong, just not to the standard of linebacker that we've gotten accustomed to. And Eichenberg is having an outstanding year. And then my other person would be our transfer in from Oklahoma State who knows no system is Tanner McAllister, and he's just, again, he has upgraded that safety position or the hybrid safety linebacker spot tremendously. He is just playing balls out. And again, just a welcome addition to the defense. I think our defense is exponentially better because of his presence in the lineup. And I think you can look at those two guys, and defense as a whole in general, but those two guys to me have stood out thus far this year as being our best overall defensive players. Now, in terms of breakout performances, my next category, my breakout performances, you got to give a hats off to Zach Harrison. Yes, I'm gonna give hat props to Zach Harrison because people are starting to label him as a bust. Bust. He's a 5-star. He's a bust. He ain't all that. Zach Harrison he's having a good year, and people want to keep trying to compare Zach Harrison to the Bosa's and Chase Young. He had those accolades coming out. Did he? He had some big accolades coming out, and for a large part, people felt he hasn't lived up to that. But this year, I think he is doing that and then some. He's highly recognized on many of the draft boards, so he's having a great year. Is he getting the sacks that the Bosa's had? Is he getting the sacks that Chase Young had? No, but he's a disruptor. He gets in the backfield constantly, and he's making these quarterbacks move the pocket. He's making them uncomfortable, and he is having him a tremendous year. And I think he's improved his draft stock with the year that he is having. I think he's getting some of these naysayers to stop labeling him as a bust because he's having him a great year this year. Then of course, my man JTT, I ain't gonna say his last name, I can't say it, but JTT, you could almost give him the MVP on that game alone he had against Penn State. There's one time you could say one man single-handedly almost won a game. That was that performance against Penn State. He was involved in all 4 turnovers. All 4 of them. He tipped the pass that Zach intercepted. Went and got him an interception. Went and got the quarterback strip sack, strip the ball, recover the fumble. Oh, and for encore, you know what? I'm gonna just throw this tackle down, intercept that little screen pass you trying to throw, and I'm gonna take it into the end zone myself, cause I'm that guy. That was single-handedly one of the most individual best performances I've seen out of the defensive side of the ball in a long, long time. So yeah, that's his coming out party. If he keeps playing to that level the rest of the year, great, because folks may now have to start focusing on him. And you start focusing on one guy, that opens it up for the rest of the folks. And our interior lineman, now Tyleek Williams, it may open it up for him. Vincent, our interior guys may open it up. When Sawyer's in there, open it up. Because now you got to focus on what this dude just did against Penn State, and you don't want him to do that to your team. So you're going to give him a little extra attention, and our guys are good enough across the board to take advantage of that. You focus on JT, fine. Zach going to get you. Sawyer going to get you. Gene going to get you. We got guys who going to get you if you're going to focus solely on JTT. So breakout performance for him. And then lastly, my honorable mention, got to give a shout out to, I think it's Lathan Ransom. I think he's having a good year. I think our safeties in general are having a good year. The hybrid safety, bullet position, whatever you want to call it. Him and Hickman are having a good year. But if I had to pick one who's standing out over the other, and I would go at this point with Lathan Ransom. I think he's having an outstanding year in our safety position. And again, I think that leaves our corners. They got to up their game some, but if they get healthy again, I thought their last couple games were good. I thought Burks played better than our other corners. They're playing better once they get healthy and situated. But those are my sort of mid-season awards. We'll see how the rest of the year plays out. But I think they are doing a tremendous job defensively and offensively and stuff. So anything, if there's stuff I would improve going forward, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but offensively, if there's stuff I was going to improve or just mention as areas we could get a tad bit, I don't say just a better, but maybe not wait till halftime sometimes to make some of the adjustments, because let's face it, Ryan, he's a good offensive coach, but he's stubborn as hell. I don't care what nobody say, he's stubborn. He gonna keep running he gonna keep running the same play, whether they working or not. And I can see if he's gonna do like the bubble screen. I can see if he's gonna do that if you're trying to set something else up. But I didn't see anywhere in that game where they were trying to set something else up. But he kept running the bubble screens, and the Booker kept getting jacked up. Now, if you're going to fake it and go down yeah. But I didn't see him try to do that. They just kept running the same thing or the same off tackle. He runs the same play. And a lot of times it's the same situation. He'll run the same play. 3rd and 1, 3rd and short. He'll run the same play. And it gets stuffed consistently. That's like one thing I say about Ryan. He's a good coach, but he's stubborn. I guess some are gonna be good sometimes, but he's stubborn. He's a stubborn man, which he just is. Sometimes I think it does take him a little bit long to make adjustments to the game to make it easier on the offense, but it's hard to argue with the results. I ain't arguing with the results. I'm just saying you have an opportunity to make it easier for your team. Make it easier for your team. So, which comments? Well, what do you want? He's scoring, yada yada. You just said he's scoring their second rank and scoring, which they are, but he's still stubborn. They could be first ranked one so stubborn, but he a stubborn man. But just a little quicker to make some of the adjustments. Be my one little pet peeve, so to speak. And then my other pet peeve is I hate bringing it up, but it's just my boy just will not run the ball. It was so evident in that Michigan State game. There was just opportunity after opportunity after opportunity for C.J. Stroud to simply get 3, 4 yards, and just take a knee, slide, get down. Their opportunities were there to make it so much easier in our games if he would just run the ball. And no, I ain't going down that rabbit hole about trying to make him into JT Barrett, Braxton Miller. Nope. I ain't trying to say that. Anybody else on any other platforms are not trying to make this guy into a dual threat quarterback. We know he's not a dual threat quarterback. He ain't even try. We know that. But at the end of the day, a quarterback's job is quarterback is for third down, right? In the pros, they'll tell you that you measure a quarterback by what he does on third down. This boy can throw the hell out of the ball. He can put the ball anywhere he needs to put it. You've seen the games. You've seen where his if you need to put touch on it, he'll put touch on it. He need to throw it in there, he'll throw it in there. No one's trying to take that away from him. But what me and other folks like me are saying is when it is there, third down, second, whatever, when it is there and your receivers are not open and the lane is there, take your 3 yards, take your 4 yards, slide and get down. Do not take, he takes sacks when he doesn't need to. He nearly throws interceptions. He should honestly, he should have like 3 or 4. He should have whatever how many interceptions he has. He should have like 3 or 4 more because the defenders just dropped the damn ball because he's trying to force it in instead of taking the 3 or 4 yards to run it. I mean, here at Michigan State, perfect example. I was watching the game. I remember watching the game, and they showed it from the back angle, and you just see it was like an ocean. And I remember the plays. I was screaming at the TV. I scared my wife. I was like, run the ball, slide, get 5 yards, run the ball, get down, just run it. And by the time he decided, oh, maybe I should run, he got sacked. 3rd and long. You know, you can make the game so much easier for yourself and for the offense if you would take those 3, 4 yards once or twice a game when the opportunity presents itself. That's what a lot of people, when folks like me say run the ball, then you got the folks on the other side, they misconstrue the argument. Well, we don't want JT Barrett. Well, I don't want JT Barrett either in terms of throwing the ball. Because like, he had his difficulty throwing the ball, but Barrett was a winner. So I ain't going to go down the JT Barrett thing. But when we say run the ball, that's all we're talking about. We're not trying to turn him into JT Barrett 2.0 when it comes to running the ball because he ain't going to be able to do it because Barrett was a beast running the ball. We ain't trying to turn him into Braxton Miller 2.0 running the ball because he ain't dynamic like Braxton Miller was running the ball. But the last 2 times we won the national championship, guess what? Our quarterbacks ran the ball when they had to. Craig Krenzel was tough as nails. He could not throw the ball, but if you needed 3, 4 yards, his ass he would run and get them. He would run and get those yards for you. That's what we talking about. You do what you need to do as a quarterback to help your team win. Cardale Jones, you saw the game against Oregon. He ran over the damn nose. Of course, he's big, so I don't know if Cardale Jones is a fair person to use because he's bigger than the damn lineman. But y'all saw the Oregon game. He ran over the damn nose guard. He ran the ball. You know, Alabama, he ran the ball when he had to. That's all. When you have to, run the ball. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's my one little thing about C.J. Stroud. I wish he would do more because there's a good chance that we don't win the Heisman. You know why? Because I've seen games where Hendon Hooker ran the ball and Bryce Young ran the ball when they had to. When they had to, they run the ball. They ran the ball, got what they could get, and got down. You know, the one time Young he got sacked in the pocket. I think that's how he got hurt earlier this year. You can get hurt in the pocket just as well running the ball. But anyway, that's my C.J. Stroud rabbit hole thing again. Like I said earlier, when we first came on, the rankings are out. We're about where we pretty much thought we were going to be, number two. We're going to be number two regardless. Um, if they hadn't found a way to put Tennessee number one, I bet you Georgia would have been number one. I just bet you. That's just me talking in the SEC bias. They would have found a way to put Georgia number one, just so you could have SEC team number one. And now it's set up. Whoever wins that game next week, and that's going to be a game. That's going to be. I'm going to tune in for that one. That's going to be a game. That's a game I really want to see. That's going to Georgia and Tennessee. That's going to be a game. Hopefully Tennessee, because I think last year they got blown out. So we'll see. We'll see how much they really changed. They got Bama at home. And they did what they need to do against Bama, but now, Bama don't have a defense. They don't. Bama should have lost a couple games this year, so they beat the Bama, but Bama's not the same Bama team from a couple years ago. They real vulnerable. I wouldn't be surprised if LSU beat Bama, but who knows? Who knows? I ain't a big Chip Kelly fan, but we'll see how that game's. But that Georgia Tennessee game should be good. I'm gonna be tuning in for that game. But in any way, I think Ohio State was going to be number two regardless. They're going to put Georgia number one, but it was real easy to throw Tennessee up there because the Bama. That's the Bama effect. You beat Bama, you can you were going to get roped into being number one anyway. So not surprised at all by that. Ohio State wins out. They'll be no worse than number two. They'll have a good chance of being number one if they were to win out, because that will include, I'm assuming, if Michigan continues to win, that'll include a top four win. If they're brave enough to move Michigan up, because Michigan's sitting behind Clemson right now. But a top five win at the latest if Michigan keeps winning. So Ohio State would be positioned to, if they win out. A lot of football left to be played. They'll be favored in the rest of their games. We've got Michigan at home, revenge game to boot. So hopefully they can win out, and they'll be no worse than number two. So the rankings in general, I really don't have a problem with. I can see it's easy to put Tennessee number one. Ohio State, to my opinion, they should be number two. They've been dominant. The only team that's really been dominant in every game this year has been Ohio State. Like I said, Georgia, they could have easily have lost to Missouri if a couple things had gone differently. Like I said, Alabama could be looking at 2 or 3 losses right now. I think that Texas game, Texas got hosed, but that's anyway. I ain't gonna go down that road. But Alabama, they easily have a couple losses. Clemson has not looked good. I mean, they got the wins over a lot of the ranked ACC teams, but let's face it, ACC got beat up last week. Wake Forest got trounced, and Syracuse got bounced badly by Notre Dame. So how impressive has Clemson been? Because for all intents and purposes, Syracuse had Clemson beat again. How Syracuse people letting Clemson off the hook? Well, it ain't always their fault. The referees be. If I was Dino Babers, I'd be pissed at them because referees are giving them some bad calls in these 4 quarters in these last few games, last few times they played Clemson. But Syracuse had them beat. They had them dead to rights, and they let them out. They let them out the back door. So I haven't been that. Despite the wins over the ranked opponents, I have just not been that impressed with Clemson. Now you got to keep pulling your quarterback. I mean, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. Talking about interesting games, that'll be interesting to see how Notre Dame does against them. I mean, for a while there, that Notre Dame, we beat Notre Dame, but that win was looking terrible. They lose to Marshall and Stanford, so it's like, oh, y'all ain't playing nobody. But they thumped Syracuse, so dump a ranked team like that, you sort of forget some of the stuff that happened earlier in the year. So they might be finding their groove. So that might be a really good game um, in South Bend this weekend. Clemson and Notre Dame to see how that game turns out. And so them at number 4, I can kind of see because they are undefeated. They beat the ranked teams, even though I said those ranked teams are looking iffy now. I think it's hard to see them at number 4, being that the two of the teams they beat that are ranked got thumped the way they did last weekend. And got thumped by the teams who they got thumped by. They both lost to unranked teams badly, but they still found a way to justify pitting Clemson number 4. And like I've seen the other commenters make, they're just not they're not consistent in their rules. But okay, whatever. But they caught Clemson at 4, so they're undefeated. So kudos to them, and of course, and then so we'll see. We will see. Think one of people that may have an argument are the TCU folks. They played this. I think out of the top 10 teams they've played, the toughest schedule to date. And just look at the teams they played that are ranked. I think they played the same amount of ranked teams that Clemson has. I think they have the strongest strength of schedule out of the top teams. Oh, and Ohio State has the second ranked strength of schedule. Of course, it's going to change this week when Tennessee and Georgia hook up. But I think I read someplace where out of the teams in the top 10, Ohio State currently has the second toughest strength of schedule. So take that, Desmond Howard. So anyway, so so TCU, I think they could be. I wouldn't have a problem if TCU and Clemson got swapped, and I think I was looking on one of the shows, and Joe Klatt made a very good argument for him on behalf of TCU, which on the surface, it'd be hard to disagree with him. But I think basically Joe Klatt's premise was if TCU had a different number or a different name on the front of their jersey, with the same schedule and the same resume they had this year, they'd be no worse than number 4. When you look at who they beaten, who they or whatnot, or who they beaten and who they played. If that was Oklahoma with the same schedule, he made the argument Oklahoma would be number 4. They're only getting punished because they don't have the brand name. It's hard to argue against that logic when you look at the resumes and how the committee justifies pitting teams where they're at. And then you get TCU, and they make excuses on why TCU's so low, but they don't apply that same standard across the board to some of these other teams. And I think they say, they've been behind in games. Well, hell, Alabama should have lost a couple games, but yet they're still behind Alabama. Not should have lost, but they lost a game. And I know it's on the road to Tennessee, who's now ranked number 1, but they lost. They should have lost to Texas. And I forgot the other game they probably should have lost, but there were a couple games they could have lost. So to use that argument against TCU and not use and apply it to Alabama, or same thing to not apply it to Clemson, that they were behind against Syracuse, but you gonna penalize TCU for being behind the games, but not Clemson. So I think real inconsistencies across the board. Like they always like to say, the rankings will play themselves out. As the season goes on, it is a long season. These are only the first rankings, but if I'm a TCU person, there's a good chance I could go undefeated and not make the 14 field just because of the way they position the SEC teams, their rationale for positioning these teams. Because even if Ohio State or Michigan lose, if it's a close game, they'll find a way to justify keeping Michigan or Ohio State in front of TCU. That's what they do in the SEC. They find ways to justify pitting these teams up there. I mean, you look at the ranking, you got LSU ranked number 10. Come on, number 10. LSU. No, they shouldn't be number 10. But anyway, that's just first rankings are out. For the most part, the only team I can see another team being at number 3 as opposed to Clemson. I mean, number 4 as opposed to Clemson. But other than that, it's the first ranking, and we'll see how the rest of the year plays out. But from Ohio State's perspective, win out, you'll be no worse than number 2. You'll be no worse than number 2. So, and then finally, Northwestern is coming up. We should be able to get our running game back on. Northwestern is not your. Well, you know how Northwestern is. Every year, about once every few years, they're really good. And then those other years, they're developing their players. So maybe this time next year, Northwestern will be really good. But this Northwestern team, they're in that development stage. They're not really good. They're not the Northwestern we played a couple years ago, where they gave us some troubles in the conference championship game. This Northwestern team is bad, so we should be able to do what we want against this Northwestern team. They haven't showed much this year, but it is at Northwestern. There's always that letdown. We had the big game at Penn State, a rivalry game. Yes, it is a rivalry game because Penn State has given us the most problems consistently over the years, even more so now than Michigan State because they sort of taken a step back. Had a big game on the road in Happy Valley, so there's that general letdown they may have. If they come out slow, which they've done the last couple weeks, everyone. Nah, I ain't going. It's Northwestern. Ain't no way. There's no way I envision Northwestern hanging with Ohio State. They may not cover the spread. That's a big ass spread, but Northwestern winning. I can't even talk myself into that. But as long as they come to play, Northwestern shouldn't give them a problem. This is not one of Fitzpatrick's better Northwestern teams. He is in the process of developing them. So maybe next year or the year after, Northwestern will be really good again. But this ain't the year for Northwestern to be that team. So we'll see. And again, if you like the content, back on. Hopefully I can stay on this time and got some of the life issues out the way, and we just keep talking Buckeye stuff. We got the basketball season come up. Our lady volleyballers are balling out, so we'll be touching upon some other stuff moving forward. I just like Buckeyes sports in general, and try to keep my periphery on what's going on in Buckeye land. So again, if you like the content, like a different perspective on Buckeye talk, please subscribe, please hit the like button. I'm trying to get this thing growing. I'm close to retirement age. I want to be able to do this full time, so help a brother retire and get through and get out the rat race, and I quit my 9 to 5 and just hang out and talk Buckeyes all the time. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, and until next time, we'll have keep going, talk some Northwestern, and see what the next rankings look like. Until next time, thank you guys again for taking the time to check me out. And again, welcome to those who are seeing me for the first time. Welcome back to the folks who were catching me earlier in the year. And again, hit the like button, subscribe, and let's get this thing rolling. Until next time, peace.